Liverpool's Premier League title charge isn't just on, it's practically written in the stars. They've stretched their lead at the top to a jaw-dropping 15 points. Let that sink in. No team in English top-flight history, since way back in 1888, has ever been this far ahead at this stage and not gone on to lift the trophy. One league loss all season. A 3-1 win over Southampton on Saturday. Meanwhile, Arsenal, supposed title contenders, have stumbled in their last 3 games, including that 1-1 draw with Manchester United. The gap is widening and the belief is fading. Roy Keane summed it up perfectly on Sky Sports. Liverpool will look at it and think Arsenal have almost given up the title race. Paul Merson? Even more blunt. Forget it. Arsenal need to focus on top 4. Liverpool are too far ahead. The title race is over. Now, let's talk about the table. Nottingham Forest are 3rd. Yes, you read that right. Just 4 points behind Arsenal. Chelsea are lurking in 4th, 2 points further back. And then there's Manchester City, serial winners, reigning champions, sitting in 5th after a shock 1-0 loss to Forest. Pep's powerhouse? More like Pep's problem. So when can Liverpool officially wrap this up? The number crunchers at Opta give them a 99.66% chance of winning the league. Arsenal? Just 0.34 cent, basically a lottery ticket. The Reds need 16 more points from their remaining games to make it mathematically impossible for anyone to catch them. If Liverpool win their next 5 games and Arsenal win their next 6, including their game in hand, then all Arne Slot's men would need is 1 point at Stamford Bridge on May 3rd to be crowned champions. But here's the real kicker. If Liverpool keep winning and both Arsenal and Forest go on a losing streak, the title could be theirs as early as April 12th. That would be an insanely early coronation. Now, there's a twist. Liverpool don't have another league game in March. Champions League action, a Carabao Cup final against Newcastle, and the international break mean the wait could feel like an eternity. But when they're back, it's full steam ahead. The history books are in sight. Liverpool's 2019-20 squad won the title with 7 games to spare. The Premier League record for earliest title win is April 14, 2001 by Manchester United. Could the Reds beat that? Maybe. Could they top Man City's record-breaking 100-point season? Not quite. Their max is 97. But a dominant statement title win? Oh, that's looking inevitable. Anfield. Start dreaming. The wait might not be long. Mikel Arteta's 200th Premier League game as Arsenal boss was supposed to be a milestone. Instead, it felt more like a funeral for another title challenge that just couldn't go the distance. A 1-1 draw at Old Trafford leaves Arsenal staring up at Liverpool, now a whopping 15 points ahead. Title dreams? More like title delusions at this point. Sure, the Gunners played some pretty football, 68.2% possession, neat passing triangles, all very aesthetic. But possession without penetration is just window dressing. And for most of the game, they barely laid a glove on a Manchester United side low on confidence and quality. Declan Rice's 74th minute equalizer gave them a flicker of hope after Bruno Fernandes' free kick, but in the end, it was another case of too little too late. And let's be real, this decline has been brewing. Arsenal's refusal to sign a proper striker has been a ticking time bomb, and now it's detonating right in front of them. Injuries to Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz have only made things worse, and without Bukayo Saka, their attack looks toothless. When push came to shove at Old Trafford, Arteta turned to Kieran Tierney instead of a proper forward. That's all you need to know. Raheem Sterling, brought in on loan as a last-minute panic move, has been a ghost. Arteta's gamble that he could reignite Sterling's career looks more like a vanity project gone wrong. The fact that Mikel Merino was deployed as an emergency striker just underscores how badly Arsenal botched their squad planning. Even Arteta admitted as much. The efficiency we had in the last 20 meters wasn't good enough. We know that. Translation: we don't have the firepower to finish the job. And let's not forget, Arsenal had 48 hours more rest than United, who had just played away in the Europa League. The advantage was there. They just weren't good enough to take it. Now don't get it twisted. Arteta has undeniably improved Arsenal. 119 wins in 200 league games is no small feat. Only Pep Guardiola has collected more victories and points in that span, and Arteta has even surpassed Arsene Wenger's tally at the same mark. But at a club like Arsenal, progress is measured in silverware, and right now the Spaniards' only tangible success is the 2020 FA Cup. There's still hope on the European front. Arsenal are on the verge of a Champions League quarter-final after obliterating PSV 7-1 away. But the clock is ticking. 5 years in, Arteta needs a trophy, this season or next, or the questions will only get louder. And let's be honest, this season was a golden opportunity wasted. City's unexpected struggles left the door wide open, but instead of storming through it, Arsenal tripped over their own feet. Liverpool, under new boss Arne Slot, didn't hesitate. Now they're cruising to the title, while Arsenal are left wondering what went wrong, again. The final whistle at Old Trafford said it all. A subdued response from the players. A half-hearted cheer from the travelling fans. They know the truth. The game is up. The race for European football? Oh, it's on, and it's heating up in spectacular fashion. Chelsea have muscled their way into the top 4 after a weekend of drama that saw Nottingham Forest, Brighton, and Aston Villa all crank up the pressure. Forest are making history, sitting comfortably in third after a gritty 1-0 win over Manchester City, Champions League contenders against all odds. Callum Hudson-Odoi's 83rd minute strike put Nuno Espirito Santo's side 4 points clear of City, and suddenly a return to Europe's elite for the first time since 1980-81 looks very real. Chelsea, meanwhile, took advantage of City's stumble, climbing to 4th with a hard-fought 1-0 win over Leicester. The hero? Marc Cucurella, stepping up in the second half to send City tumbling down to 5th. And don't sleep on Brighton. The Seagulls are flying. 4 league wins in a row now. The latest courtesy of João Pedro's clutch stoppage-time penalty against Fulham. Just 1 point separates them from City, and with the two teams set to face off on March 15th, that's shaping up to be a season-defining showdown. Aston Villa? They're not done yet. A crucial win over Brentford, sealed by Ollie Watkins, saw Unai Emery's men leapfrog Fulham, Bournemouth, and Newcastle, soaring from 10th to 7th. They're now just a point behind Brighton and well within striking distance of a 3rd consecutive European campaign. Now, how do these teams actually qualify for Europe? Let's break it down. The top 4 head straight to the Champions League. 5th place lands a Europa League spot. Another Europa League place goes to the FA Cup winners. The Carabao Cup winners get a ticket to the Europa Conference League playoffs. But if those domestic cup winners already qualify through the league, their European spots trickle down. That means 6th place could snatch a Europa League place, and 7th could slide into the Conference League. And here's where it gets really interesting. England might just get an extra Champions League spot this season. Thanks to UEFA's coefficient rankings, basically a fancy way of rewarding leagues for how well their teams perform in Europe, the top 2 leagues in Europe get 1 additional Champions League place. Right now, the Premier League is cruising at the top, with 6 of its 7 clubs still alive in Europe. So what does that mean? If England holds its position, 5th place in the Premier League gets a golden ticket to the Champions League next season. But wait, there's more. England could actually end up with 6 teams in the Champions League. How? The Europa League winner also gets a Champions League spot. That means if Manchester United or Tottenham, both struggling domestically but still fighting in the Europa League, win it, they'd qualify alongside the top 4 or 5. Long story short, the European battle is absolute chaos, and with so much still up for grabs, every single game from here on out matters. Liverpool's trophy hunt is in full swing, and Arne Slot has made it crystal clear. Every game feels like a final now. The Reds pulled off a gutsy 3-1 comeback against Southampton, and that was just the first of 3 massive showdowns. Next up, a Champions League battle with PSG and a Carabao Cup final clash with Newcastle before they even kick a ball in the league again. Now, the dream of a historic treble, Champions League, Premier League, and FA Cup, was crushed by Plymouth last month. Yeah, that still stings. But Liverpool aren't done. 3 trophies are still on the table, and Slot is hungry for silverware in his debut season. It's a sign of a good team when you can win in different ways, Slot told Match of the Day after the Saints' win. The first half? Poor. Our energy? Also poor. But the result? Exactly what we needed. Mohamed Salah took matters into his own hands, or rather, his feet, burying 2 penalties while Darwin Núñez added another to turn the game around after a defensive mix-up gifted Southampton the lead. Salah's numbers are just ridiculous. 32 goals in all competitions, involved in 44 Premier League goals this season. That's the most by any player in a 38-game campaign. And while Salah keeps delivering, Liverpool's next test is a giant one. PSG, Champions League, Anfield. They already snatched a 1-0 win in Paris, but Slot knows they need to be miles better this time. The only good thing about that first half, they saved their energy for PSG, he joked. But against them, we have to turn it up, by 3, 4, 5, 7 levels, if we want any chance of making the next round. Then comes Wembley, a Carabao Cup final against Newcastle, Slot's first shot at silverware since stepping into Klopp's legendary shoes. Harvey Elliott, who made a big impact off the bench against Southampton and scored in Paris, summed it up perfectly. It's simple. We just have to keep winning. Game by game. Apply ourselves. Get it done. Now let's talk history. Only 5 English teams, well, 3 clubs, have won 3 major trophies in a season. United did the legendary Treble in '99. City matched it last year. Liverpool, they've done it twice before. In '83-'84, they won the old First Division, League Cup, and European Cup, and fun fact, they also lost to a second-tier team in the FA Cup 4th round that year, Brighton, just like this season. Then in 2001, they bagged the FA Cup, League Cup, and UEFA Cup. So, can they pull it off again? The Premier League? It's basically in the bag. Opta gives them a 98.9% chance of winning it. The Champions League? They're the favorites, with a 26% shot at lifting the trophy. The Carabao Cup? Bookmakers have them at 1-4 odds to beat Newcastle. A treble of trophies isn't out of the question. But Liverpool will need to bring their absolute best when it matters most. And with the way they're grinding out wins, don't bet against them. Manchester United is a club in chaos, but if they had more players like Bruno Fernandes, maybe they wouldn't be. That's exactly how Ruben Amorim sees it. Fernandes was United's heartbeat in their 1-1 draw with Arsenal at Old Trafford, leading from the front like a true captain. Even Mikel Arteta had to admit the Portuguese playmaker was too clever for both his team and the referee when he ever so slightly adjusted his free kick positioning, giving himself the perfect angle to fire United into the lead. How much of an advantage did he create? Well, post-match measurements showed the ball was actually 11.2 yards, from Arsenal's wall instead of the regulation 10. A small difference? Maybe. But a crucial one. Former Newcastle goalkeeper Shay Given summed it up. With that extra yard, Bruno can hit it with more pace. Maybe the ref just miscounted. For Amorim, Fernandes is simply irreplaceable. We need more Brunos, that's clear, he said. It's not just his quality, it's his character. He makes mistakes, sure, but he's decisive. He steps up when it matters. He wants to win, and when we need a goal or an assist, he's always there. And the numbers back him up. Fernandes is now United's top scorer in the league with 7 goals. Across all competitions, he's bagged 12. In a side struggling in 14th place, he's been involved in 14 league goals, more than anyone else. Since his debut in 2020, only Mohamed Salah, 177, and Son Heung-min, 124, have contributed to more Premier League goals than Fernandes, 109. But even with Bruno pulling the strings, United's playing style remains a sore spot. They had just 31.8% possession against Arsenal, another chapter in a long-running story of United thriving on the counter-attack. That might have worked under Mourinho, but Amorim knows it's not sustainable. You can't play like that when you're Manchester United, he admitted. You have to try to win the game, to control it. This club will never die, but we need to be better. And as United struggled on the pitch, their fans made their voices heard off it. Thousands marched in protest against the club's ownership in what was the largest demonstration since Sir Jim Ratcliffe bought his near 30% stake. The scenes were reminiscent of the anti-Glazer protests in 2022 before a home game against Liverpool. Flares in the air, chants ringing out, banners demanding change. Fans directed their fury at co-chairman Joel Glazer and Ratcliffe himself, who spent £1.3 billion to get his foot in the door, but has yet to provide the solutions many hoped for. And the anger isn't just about ownership, it's about money. The club is in financial freefall. Another 200 staff members are set to lose their jobs, adding to the 250 let go last year. Ticket prices have jumped to £66 with no concessions. Debt has ballooned past £1 billion, with £300 million still owed in transfer fees. Just last year, United paid £37 million in interest alone. Ratcliffe insists these cost-cutting measures are necessary to stop the bleeding. United lost £113 million last year. But the fans aren't buying it. Banners reading, "We want our club back," and £1 billion stolen flooded the streets around Old Trafford. When Ratcliffe bought in, many believed he'd be the one to fix the mess. Right now, it looks like he's got a long way to go. The battle at the bottom of the Premier League is getting uglier by the week, and for newly promoted teams, the top flight is starting to look more like a trap than a triumph. Last season, Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United all took the dreaded one-way trip straight back to the Championship. And this season, well, history might just repeat itself. Leicester, Southampton, and Ipswich, the new kids on the block, are all stranded in the relegation zone. If they don't turn things around, we'll see all three promoted sides go straight back down for the second year in a row, a Premier League first. And the numbers? They're grim. Last season's relegated trio combined for a record-low 66 points. This season's bottom three, they're on pace for an even worse total, just 58. After 28 games, Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester have scraped together just 43 points combined, the lowest tally ever at this stage. Southampton, in particular, looked doomed. They came up through the playoffs hoping just to survive, but instead they're staring down an even worse fate, becoming the worst Premier League team of all time. Right now, they've got just 9 points. That's fewer than Derby County had at this stage in their infamous 11-point season back in 2007-08. The good news? Derby only managed 1 more point in their last 10 games. Southampton just need 3 to dodge that unwanted record. A low bar, but that's where we are. And if you think spending big solves the problem, think again. 7 of the last 12 promoted teams have gone straight back down. Even clubs like Nottingham Forest, who splashed £150 million on over 20 new players, have barely clung on. Fulham threw more than £100 million at survival and managed to stick around. But Southampton and Ipswich did the same last summer, and here they are, staring relegation in the face. Now let's talk Cole Palmer. Chelsea's young star has been money from the penalty spot. Until now. He finally missed from 12 yards in Chelsea's 1-0 win over Leicester, ending a perfect run of 12 straight Premier League penalties, a record he stole from Yaya Touré. To be fair, he probably shouldn't have even been playing. He was sick all week, missed training, but still insisted on suiting up to help the team. That's the kind of mentality Chelsea fans love to see. But let's be real, Palmer hasn't been himself lately. He's on a 9-game goal drought, stretching back to January 14. His last assist? You have to go even further, December 1st. That's his longest dry spell since joining Chelsea. The numbers paint an interesting picture. He's actually shooting more, 4.2 shots per game versus 3.6 before, getting more touches in the opposition box, 5.2 per game, up from 4.0, but his expected goals has dropped. Simply put, the quality of chances he's getting has taken a hit. That said, he's still Chelsea's top scorer with 14 league goals, and their win, ugly as it was, puts them back in 4th, leapfrogging Manchester City. For the first time under this new ownership, Champions League football is in sight. This has been Across the Pitch. Over and out.